James G here with Tarpley Music in Fort Worth, Texas, but you can always find us online if you need to at tarpleymusic.com. Really excited about going through a pedal today by Strymon. This is the Strymon Iridium, and it is a amp and IR cab simulator. Okay, amp simulators we've heard of, right? You dial in to listen to us. It's going to recreate kind of a certain type of amplifier. And then this is an IR cab simulator. So IR stands for impulse response. It's basically like you get your rig together and you get this perfect sound in this room and you like everything and you hit your two buttons and do a screenshot. Okay, that's kind of what it is, except that they get that setting and then it replays in that setting, so you can kind of recreate exactly what that sounded like. So these are great for if you wanted to bypass an amp, you're going direct into a PA system. A lot of guys are using this from home recordings. They can literally just go through it and have several different types of amps and cabs to choose from, and it's pretty straightforward. So you have a switch here that switches between your three amps. There's a round, chime, and a punch. And then each amp will have A, B, and C cabs. So already you have 3 amp simulators and 3 cabs per amp there. Then you got your drive knob, and then your level knob, just like an amp, your 3-band EQ, and then this is a ambient room reverb that you can adjust as well that has other settings. We'll go more deep into that. And then, of course, your on and off switch here, and then there's a favorite switch here, so you can have a saving, hit it as a favorite there. So on the back, pretty straightforward as well. You have a switch here that's going to basically talk about what your input and output are. So if it's on mono, then that would be guitar, right? The guitar's going in mono, and it's either going out mono or stereo. Then your stereo here, you're going in with a stereo here, going out in stereo. And then your sum is if you're going to go in stereo but go out as a mono, and it goes out the left out for mono for there. This is your USB here, so if you want to update firmware, if you can do all kinds of different stuff you could do as far as settings and things like that with USB. And then there's also the expression pedal and MIDI pedal. So you can actually hook up a MIDI pedal to this and basically have full access to all the parameters of MIDI. So that's probably a whole nother video of what you can actually do that. But you MIDI guys out there, you could totally go in there and you could do anything with the MIDI settings as well. And then to wrap it all up, you can just put in a 3.5, you put your earbuds in, and you can rock out completely by yourself, and you'll get the full sounds of this thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each amp setting and all the different cabs and kind of give you an idea of everything that you can get out of this. And then we're going to actually go over the reverb a little bit, and then we're going to talk about some of the other functions. All right, so the first amp model that we're going to go through is the round amp. Now, this is to recreate an old Fender Deluxe Reverb, which is one of the most recorded amps in history. Okay, and so it has 3 separate cabs, A, B, and C. Cab A is a Deluxe Reverb 112, B is a Blues Junior 112, and then the C is a Vibrolux 210. So that is your amp and then the 3 different cab selections you get. From there, your bass and treble, much like on the amp. The drive channel, just like a drive channel on the amp. Now, the mid has got a little bit of a separate entity to it, where if you're at 12, that's the traditional tone you're going to get. You can actually dial that back and it'll give you a mid down. It's a mid scoop. But if you crank it all the way to the top, they've actually got it to where that's going to start to simulate kind of the tweed amps before. So you can actually drive that gain channel even a little bit more if you move that mid channel up. And of course, from here, we have your room reverb that's built in. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just play through these the 3 different cabinets, and then I'm going to show that mid scoop, and I'm going to show that extra grain as I turn that drive all the way up to get some good crunch. So the second amp type we have is the Chime amp, and what they're actually recreating with this is an AC30. Great amp, right? So 3 really cool cabs with this as well. So cab A is a 212 AC30 cab, and then B is a 112 Celestion El Nico speaker, and then C is a Mesa Boogie 4x12. So a lot of variances there just in the cabs themselves. The other cool feature they did with this is once you hit on the drive knob, once you hit about 2 p.m., that would actually be this amp maxed out. So what they did is if you go past that 2 o'clock, it's almost like they added a treble boost in front of the amp, which a lot of guys would do to get more gain out of that AC30. And so once you get past that 2 o'clock, you'll hear it really start to break up and get overdriven. So just like before, I'm going to keep the drive at kind of a clean tone, and I'm going to go through all the 3 cabs with that. We're going to go to that 2 o'clock so you can hear it at full boost, the original boost, and then past that we'll go past 2 so you can really hear this thing break up, and we'll just leave the EQ nice and even. right, so the third third amp type we have, they refer to as the punch amp. Now what they're recreating here is a Marshall Plexi Super Lead. So a lot of gain, great for leads, and great for a lot of overdrive, right? The 3 amp cabs they have for this is the A is a GNR 412, and then with B you get a vintage 2x12 vintage 30s, and then in C you get a Marshall 8x12 Alnico speaker cab, all right? And this particular drive on this, they've actually extended the drive a little bit, so once you push by that 3 or 4, you're actually going to push the amp a little bit more than you could on the original, so it's definitely kind of like a hot-rodded amp head. So I'm going to go through, once again, I'm going to go with a little bit of a cleaner, lower on the drive there. We'll go through all 3 cabs, and then I'm going to punch that up for some good gain, all 3 cabs, and then we're just going to go ridiculous gain on that for 3 cabs. So in addition to 3 amps, 3 cabs per amp, and all amp being able to be modded, you actually have an ambient room knob as well. And what they did with this is basically assimilating if there is a set of stereo condensers in the room. And you can do 3 different room sizes. So if you hold down the on button, you'll see both of these flash. If I go to the left, that's going to be small room for green. Amber will go to medium, and then red for large. Once I push this button again, now I'm in the large room setting, so this is just how much of the large room ambience I'm getting. So you can set that as a small, a medium, or a large room, so you also have 3 different room size reverbs on top of everything else with this. So just to touch on a few other things here, I didn't change pickups, and I didn't even change any of the EQ on all that stuff you just heard, right? Otherwise it'd be an hour-and-a-half long video, which might be cool. But you can see the potential for this is just, it's ridiculous, because you have a 3-band EQ on all these amps. In fact, on the Chime amp, they actually have the middle. If you take the middle all the way up, it actually rolls off the high. So it's a really cool way to get even, that British sound of taking those highs out. You can do on that amp as well. Other than that, you just got EQ control as well as your drive and your, output of how much you're sending out to the PA system or whatever you're doing with that. There's also a favorite button. You can have a whole setting here. You hold the favorite button, it will just give a shot of that particular setting. So essentially, you've got 2 pedals here. You could actually have a nice, really clean deluxe reverb sound. You're sitting on round A with whatever like that, and then you need a super lead. You can actually hit that. You've actually almost got like a built-in overdrive pedal just with that favorite pedal. So even cooler thing there. And of course, from this, we can't even go into the depth, but you can actually go through in and connect MIDI to actually simulate a lot of that stuff, so you can change on the fly. And of course, you can add an expression pedal that will give you more features from that as well. The other cool thing is there's actually a Class A JFET transistor preamp in there that allows for 20 dB of preamp gain. So when you're pulling that drive knob and stuff like that, that transistor is actually pushing more drive to that. It's just really, really cool. I've been fascinated with this pedal. And there's just a whole lot of features to it. Not to mention the last thing is you can literally just plug in headphones with a 3.5 and just jam out to yourself. All right, so we've heard the 3 amps and all the cabs in a very basic form. So I want to hear combinations of those in with some tracks I did earlier. All right, come on, hit it, boys. So here's my takeaway on this pedal. And of course, I also love just getting a really old vintage tube amp and plugging in and listening to it, of course, okay? But as music has changed, as times have changed, to stay as a player and to be working a lot, you're kind of changing a lot of your stuff as well. So there are a lot of gigs that I do that something like this actually makes perfect sense. And the thing about it is it's extremely versatile. They give you 3 of the most popular amps of all time, different cabs that you can do that with. You can change what size room you're in. You can change the EQ on that. And of course, as I mentioned before, you can hit a favorite. So essentially, you can have 2 channels ready to go just by using this as a separate channel button. There's a couple of settings on here because 2 of my favorite amps of all time are Deluxe Reverb and AC30. So when I play on this, I would probably spend a lot of time on the round channel with either A or B to get kind of a Deluxe Reverb or a Blues Junior sound, and then use some overdrive and stuff on other pedals. However, saying that, this Marshall lead, the way you can actually mod it, stuff like that, you can actually have your own lead channel in there. So there's a lot of great setting. I just learned that I basically keep it on the large room and then just figure out how much saturation of that I want. But that's me. I really love that large room setting for the reverb. Of course, you can set it as small and medium, or maybe completely take it out and use another Strymon reverb pedal, right? So, and you'll see these a lot at the beginning of the chain because you want all your other pedals to react to the amp itself and the kind of simulation. So it's just absolutely amazing. And we scratched the surface of this thing, honestly, of what it really can do. But I can totally see myself having this in a home studio to do all my lead guitar work or electric guitar work, and definitely at the end of a pedal board to do a live gig where I'm just going direct and using in-ears. I would do it absolutely tonight. No question. It's that great. It's that strong. And so if you're looking for that, if you're a guy who's playing a lot, whether it's out at, you're doing out gigs or at church or whatever like that, where you're going to more of a direct thing, you're trying to get rid of stage volume, you have got to come down to Tarpley and check this thing out. Like I said, you can literally take this pedal by the guitar wall and put headphones in, and you can listen to the whole capabilities of the thing and tune the rest of the store out, right? So very powerful to do. I'd really recommend this as an option if you're looking to do that. It's a price point that is lower than most amps. So, I mean, and you get 3 and 9 cabs. So it's just makes a whole lot of sense there. So I really hope you got some interest in this pedal and learned something about it, because a lot of people just like, what is it? And we won't even touch it, right? But it's really very hands-on, much like working the controls on your amp anyway. So I really hope you enjoyed this. I loved doing this, working on this pedal for the last few days. It's been a blast. Had a lot of fun with you in the mix on this one and just going through all the different tones. If you liked it, please hit like. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, you need to subscribe. And of course, if you'd like to know as we're dropping more videos, because we drop them all the time, you can just turn on notifications, and we will see you on our next one.